Right, folks, this is a new podcast from the Two Mics, and I'm going to give you old energy boy, MG, to introduce it.
Yeah, we've edited out all the nonsense from Mike Porky-Parry, so it might be a bit shorter than usual.
Ha, 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 ha. Look at the light! Look at the light! Look at the light! Look at the light! You worry too much about the time.
Yeah, no, I worry about it.
Look at the light!
Yeah, look into the light.
Which light?
Look at any light you like.
Do you see the light? Do you see the light? Do you see the light?
This is TalkSport Extra Time. We are the Two Mics, and it's time to say a very, very good morning to Mr. Mike Parry. A very good morning to you, Mr. Parry.
Well, I'd like to say it was a good morning, Mike.
What's wrong with you now?
I've got sciatica.
Have you?
I've got the sciatica.
It's come back.
It's agony.
And you're in pain?
I got out the car the wrong way going home last night.
Did you?
And if you get out the car the wrong way...
Did you get out the wrong side, you mean?
No, I got out the right side, but I re-elevated my leg. There's a particular technique I have to use to slide my leg out.
Oh, okay.
Might be something to do
You
with
don't
the
have
fact
to,
that
swivel.
only a third of my heart works, and maybe it's
It might be,
blood
or the
pressure
fact that
something.
two-thirds of it doesn't work.
Well, that's exactly right. And I just threw the leg too far to hit the floor, and as I raised myself out of the seat, because you've got to remember, I've got a luxurious car.
Yes, of course.
And the seats are very
it's
deep.
very low down, though. Maybe you should get a bigger car like mine.
Maybe you're
You
right.
buy my car? I'll sell you my car if you like.
Mine, no, I wouldn't want to buy an old wreck like that. Mine is sleek and near the ground. You're right. I don't need to buy one that's got big wheels to go across rutted tracks to.
Well, I mean,
to
tell me.
some hovel of a hut in the middle of a field down in Kent.
I think
you know what I mean?
You'd find it very helpful because it's got a step. You can step down before you get onto the ground.
Yeah,
you can actually lower. The old Land Rover, you can lower it so that you can have. It's called access level. So it means you'd be able. It might be something you should think about. Actually, I'm not joking.
It's given me a lot of jip, and I do hope the audience will have some sympathy.
No, I don't think they will.
If they detect the agony in my voice, it is agony, by the way.
Well, you should be careful
because
which way you sit. Then
sciatica goes from your right shoulder right the way down your spine into your right buttock, right, with a vengeance.
Yeah, thank you for that.
And then right down the back of the leg.
So it's all down the one side,
down the hamstring, and I can feel it in my toes in my right foot.
And what do you do when? What did you do
well,
last time?
there's nothing you can do. You just
can't
have
take painkillers or anything.
No, I just have to bear the pain. You know, I've been trained to take pain on a number of occasions.
But considering that you take 27 different pills a day, why don't you just take a couple of extra ones for the pain?
Well, I'm not sure they can because if you take the wrong sort of pills, you could end up with a frothy combination of bubbling.
Yeah, that's true.
Pills in your belly or something.
And where do you park at the penthouse block of apartments?
In the underground car park.
So you're in the underground car park. So
absolutely.
you're not getting out onto a raised pavement.
No. It was what the word I'm looking for is it was a wrong manoeuvre. It was a wrong physical manoeuvre, and I knew I shouldn't have done it. I must have hung onto the steering wheel too long and lowered myself to the ground, which isn't a good thing to do because my shoulder feels like it's gone out as well. But I'm not going to moan about it. I'm not going to complain.
Can we move on now?
Yeah, let's move on.
I do not feel at all sorry for you, and there's no point in me pretending that I do. So at this point, I'll just say, I hope it gets better, but I don't want to hear any more about it.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm not going to tell you anything more about it anyway because I despise your lack of compassion for your fellow man.
I have no sympathy for you.
I'm rather glad that Liverpool got through. Now, as an Evertonian, that will upset some people who say, I should always want Liverpool to lose. I don't feel like that. The reason I'm rather glad Liverpool got through is because in order to keep the FA Cup as a top value competition, I don't want second-rate clubs like Blackburn getting into the semi-finals at Wembley.
You're going to upset people in Blackburn.
No, I'm not upsetting people in Blackburn.
Club.
No.
It's not a second-rate club.
Blackburn is not a second-rate town. Blackburn is a great town.
You just called them a second-rate club.
I'll explain that in a minute. Blackburn is a great city, a great northern city.
Lancashire.
Yeah, Blackburn, Lancashire. It's got great buildings built by the cotton barons of the 19th and 20th centuries. Yeah. More the 18th and 19th, I suppose. And what's more, my Auntie Matt lived in Pendleton, just outside Blackburn.
Auntie Matt?
And was
Matt short for?
And was a Pendle witch, hey?
What was Matt short for?
Matilda.
Oh, okay.
My Auntie Matt, and she was a Pendle witch.
Was she?
And she lived at the bottom of Pendle Hill, yeah.
What's a Pendle witch, then?
Well, the Pendle witches are the curious sort of people who go down in folklore and all that, but they dress up for ceremonies and that kind of stuff.
She wasn't really a witch, then?
Well, I never knew this when I was a kid. She was very old, and I was only a little kid, only about 6. And this wrinkled old woman with a pointed witch's hat in the corner, black witch's cloak.
She actually had a hat.
Oh yeah, black witch's hat, black cloak. She also had a broom. A flying broom.
Really?
What's it call it? The
broomstick.
Broomstick. That's right. Yeah, flying broomstick, which was.
Did you ever see it fly?
No, I didn't see it fly because they're not allowed to fly in front of humans. You know, it's a bit of the old Harry Potter stuff and all that.
Yeah.
But she told me all sorts of stories of adventures of flying over Pendle Hill and this kind of stuff, which, of course, as a kid I believed and thought that was absolutely true.
Well, you're quite gullible, aren't you?
I was gullible at that age. But anyway, look,
It's quite frightening, I would have thought, to have a witch in your family tree.
Well, yeah, it is a bit, I suppose, but it's quite exciting. So I'm not calling Blackburn a second-rate club. I'm saying...
You just did.
No, I'm saying they're in the Championship. They've struggled for a couple of seasons for credibility within the football world.
Well, they've struggled for credibility ever since they were brought over by the chicken people.
That's right. They're Indian owners.
The Venkeys.
The Venkeys, very, very good business people, obviously, and it was thought they'd inject some real sort of business sense into football. But like many other business practices and business people before them, the minute you take on a football club,
it all changes,
your brains go to scrambled egg, and the issues that you have to control and master in running a football club are sometimes beyond those of great industrialists.
That's true, because so many clubs now have got themselves into terrible trouble, haven't they?
Yeah.
I mean, look at what's going on at Blackpool, look at what's going on at Wigan,
well, that's
look at what's going on at Newcastle. I mean, you know, they're talking about having a demo at the weekend,
That'll
think,
fizzle
Newcastle.
out. It'll just fizzle out.
Yeah.
All demos do. Blackburn, funnily enough, the club we're talking about, I got involved with their protest movement a couple of years ago.
Did you?
I had a pal there who asked me to give him a bit of sort of publicity and that kind of stuff, you know. And, I mean, the number of times, you know, I got the phone call, we've organised a march tomorrow, 3,000 people marching on the ground.
Yeah, it was going on all the time.
3,000 people marching on the ground, demanding that, the Venky step down, demanding that the manager in those days was a bald-headed Scots fella who none of the fans
it was Keane,
liked.
wasn't it?
Keane.
Steve Keane, was it?
Steve Keane, that's absolutely right.
Yeah. Who then got himself in a bit of trouble in Hong Kong by saying the wrong thing, do you remember?
I think he did, absolutely. And we're going to force him out, and then usually like 30 people would turn up, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
With a couple of banners and nobody
and now
would even
it's
notice.
as if that was never something that ever
it's
happened.
True. But anyway, the point of the story is, if we go abroad and we're watching the FA Cup final from somewhere like Dubai or Qatar or Australia or the west coast of America, you want two of the biggest names in football to be competing in that final.
Yeah.
You do not want a Wigan, much as I have to say that.
Well, what did you make of last year's final then, with Hull and Arsenal?
Not much, because I knew Arsenal would win it, even when they were 2-0 down. I had a bet when they were 2-0 down that they'd win it.
Did you?
That's pretty bold, isn't it?
No, it is very bold.
Pretty bold.
Very unusual for you to actually make a success of something like that as well.
Oh, really?
Yes, it is, yes.
And I would much prefer the FA Cup final every year to be Arsenal versus Manchester United, Everton versus Liverpool, or Manchester City versus Everton, or, you know what I mean? I mean, big name teams, because then it reverberates around the world.
Everton in there. They're sort of mid-table.
They're
not that much bigger than Hull, really, are they?
Oh, they are much, much bigger, and they have a huge reputation, and they played in one of the greatest ever cup finals in 1966.
Yeah, but that's a long time ago.
Well,
half the people listening to this show weren't even alive
and
then.
3-2. Well, I may not have been alive, but most people listening to this show
they get carried away
weren't alive when
Everton.
W.G. Grace was batting for England.
No, that's why we don't
talk
about it much.
But we all know W.G. Grace is.
Well, that's why we don't talk about it much.
Talking about W.G. Grace, I mean, if Peterson gets back in the England team...
That'll be extraordinary, won't it?
Well, it'll be not a disgrace as well. It'll show the final... weakness and the final destruction of the English character that brought us a British Empire that covered 1/3 of the globe, on which, and I love this expression, I've loved it ever since I had a briefing on the British Empire from my history lecturer. What's your
what do you
problem?
mean a briefing?
Oh, well,
you mean when you were sitting in school with your short trousers on, and he was telling you about the British Empire?
Well, kind of, sort of. And when he said...
I've seen the time, by the way.
Don't worry about the time. You're obsessed about the time.
I am obsessed about the time,
buy your new watch that's 10 minutes slower, so you don't keep saying, what's the time, what's the time?
You give me that Greg Dyke watch that you had to give back.
Well, that was 16 grand's worth. By the way, a friend of mine has bought a watch for £12,500.
Really?
Which is valued at £25,000.
He bought it from those people that just robbed Hatton Garden.
No, he hasn't, but he got it discounted. But no, the expression I was trying to tell you about was, the sun never sets on the British Empire.
I've got some news for you.
Only.
I've got some news for you. It's dark out there. This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. Loads more coming up.
Talk Sport on DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM. The enduring home of football.
It's modern radio, only better.
Talk Sport.
a record. I mean, honest to God, that
it's
to
not
me,
exactly Stairway to Heaven.
that gets about he gets about 1 out of 10 in terms of a record. And do you remember when they were on stage playing it? They're all dressed in like cowboy, blinking.
Yeah,
outfits.
I used to wear those ridiculous kind of white one-piece suits.
Yeah, that's right. And Donny Osmond was on keyboards. Do you remember? There's big teeth at the back, smiling. And actually, the expression Donny Osmond had on his face always reminded me of the expression Michael Jackson used to have on his face when he appeared with the Jackson 5.
Yeah.
Because it was obvious that neither Donny Osmond nor Michael Jackson wanted to be with their brothers. But you know what happened with...
Michael Jackson was getting beaten, wasn't he, after the night before he was going on?
Yeah, absolutely. But when Michael Jackson became the world's biggest star, of course, once every 2 years, his brothers rang him up and said, "Look, we're all broke, Michael. Can we have a Jackson 5 tour?" And he hated doing it for obvious reasons, because they were all half-bakes. Yeah. But he once every 2 years, he'd go on tour with them, wouldn't he, just to give them some money.
Yeah, I know.
It was amazing.
The 5 Jacksons, as opposed to the 2 Mikes. Now, let me read you some tweets here.
Okay.
One from Millsy. It says, "I hear your pain all the way from Adelaide, Porky. Get well soon, son. You are the seeker of truth and justice."
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I really appreciate the sincerity of the...
I'm not sure if he's...
some of the messages I'm getting from the listeners. I'm not going to read them all out because I don't want you to think that the show's all about me and my pain. But I do want to say a big thank you to those who have, taken time.
Here's another
to
sarcastic one. From Richard in Denby. He says, "Good morning, Mr. Parry. Glad you've graced us with your presence. We can now look forward to some common sense on the airwaves."
Exactly.
He can't possibly mean that. And Derek in Pencoed says, "Mike, with all Porky's health problems, why not just take him to a vet nearby? They will sort him out."
Pencoed, you plonker.
Yeah, that's very nice. Now, listen, the reason we were playing Crazy Horses is because today is the start of the Aintree Festival.
It is indeed.
Which is, I tell you what, I like that even better than Cheltenham.
Do you?
My
Are
part
you going
of the
up
world.
there?
Well, no, I'm not actually, but I would. We've done it several times.
Yeah.
Mr. Brazil and I've done it a few times.
It's a hard place to go for the day, though, presumably, isn't it?
Why?
Well, I mean, it's further than Cheltenham, isn't it?
Oh, no. Once you get in there, you walk into a hotel the night before. In fact, this is one of the things that most amuse Mr.
But that's what I'm talking about. I mean, when you and I went
Yeah.
to Cheltenham, we went there and back in the same day.
Yes,
you wouldn't do that at Aintree.
Oh, of course not. I'd stay in the Crown Plaza on the Albert Dock or just off the Albert Dock there and in the usual suite that they give me when I go there because they like me. When I go up and watch Everton.
You didn't tell me you had a suite when we stayed there.
Did we stay there?
Yeah, we stayed there and we went to see Liverpool-Everton.
Do you know what I think I did?
Yeah.
I think that I did a deal with the hotel and said, "Look, I won't take my normal suite. Give me 2 rooms instead, and that'll cover the cost." You see what I mean?
Okay.
I think that's probably what I did.
Right.
What I did is I downgraded myself in order to accommodate
that sounds
you.
very unlike you.
No. That's the sort of guy I am.
Yeah.
Sort of guy I am. I look after you. But what most amused us once was we booked late because we got some sponsorship for the breakfast show, so we went at late notice.
Yeah.
So instead of getting into a Liverpool city centre hotel, we had to go out to Speak.
Right.
To the sort of second Holiday Inn.
Right.
The Crown Plaza's like down on the dock there, and this was.
I can't imagine the Speak Holiday Inn is that much to write home about.
It was fine, honestly, it's
Really?
fine. But what made us laugh was the official address is, the Holiday Inn. Speak Boulevard, Liverpool. And every time we asked, said, "Where are you staying?" We said, "Speak Boulevard."
Right.
It's not exactly Sunset Boulevard.
It's not quite,
what I mean?
is it?
It's not like a boulevard in Milan, or Cannes in the south of France.
Buenos
Like
Aires
that.
or something.
No, it wasn't. No.
Oh well,
But
never mind.
it was wonderful. It was very near the factory where they now produce the Jaguars.
Oh really?
Yes.
Is that true?
But anyway, look, one of the reasons why I wanted to highlight the Aintree
Yeah.
Festival is because although today is the opening day,
Yes.
tomorrow is Ladies' Day.
Tomorrow being Friday's Ladies' Day.
Exactly.
Yes.
And that means on Saturday morning, really snooty, snotty, sort of middle market papers like the Daily Mail.
Yeah.
I will name the Daily
Yeah,
Mail.
you can name
I will
the Daily
name the
Mail.
Daily Mail, which is a fine newspaper.
I think snooty is a good word for them.
Yeah, fine newspaper. Like all the papers are fine. They try to meet the aspirations of their readers. Obviously, the Mirror meets the aspiration of their sort of solid working class readers and all this kind of stuff.
So
That's the idea. That's the idea.
Right.
But the Mail seem to think that when women go to Ascot, which is down in the south of England, or even Cheltenham, which is the Chipping Norton set in sort of middle England, that ladies who dress there and get absolutely bladdered and fall around are just girls having a good time out.
Well, I'm not
Jolly
sure that's
hockey
true,
sticks,
actually,
right?
because recently Ascot has become as bad, to be honest.
Well,
I mean, some of the coverage of the women getting plastered, for want of a better word.
But it may have, but it doesn't get the same sort of condemnation that the Mail reserve for Aintree.
No.
And what happens when the girls there, including people who are like multi-millionaire wives of footballers, go out and have a good time. All the Daily Mail does is rip them off, slag them off. Look at all these old slags falling around in their clothes, tottering on their high heels. Yeah. They're all inebriated. They've had too much to drink. They've got no fashion sense. Isn't it? No, it's not true. It's outrageous, and I get really upset about it. And the point is, even when they've got a box which shows Colleen Rooney, the Queen of the Wags, with a few of her friends and all that, they just then write fashion pieces saying they've got no fashion sense because they come from the north of England. I think it's an outrage. It's a damned outrage.
I can see what you're doing here. I think all you're doing is you're currying favour with your erstwhile, people that used to hang around with in the north.
No, I'm not.
Trying to make yourself more popular.
No, I'm not.
By somehow creating a north-south divide, because you know very well that you often accuse me of being just a southerner who knows nothing about the north.
Yeah, well, you are a southerner who not only knows nothing about the north, but who holds a resentment against people from the north of England.
Absolutely not true. So you've obviously got a chip on your shoulder about it, because you're now complaining about newspapers doing it, and you're complaining about me doing it, and I've never done it.
I'm going to tell you something now which is going to worry you.
Are you?
We are on the verge of signing a deal to do a very big Two Mics live show in the northwest of England.
Splendid. Why is that going to worry me?
Well, because you're going to have to appear on a stage, and I'm going to invite people to bring fruit along and throw it at you.
And this is what you're doing now, you see. You're trying to make out like I'm some anti-northern person, which is absolute rubbish.
Yeah, well,
couldn't be further from the truth.
I think you are. But I
once went out with a girl from Liverpool, you know.
Oh, you didn't?
Yeah,
Ooh,
I did.
Golly, how exciting! What you brave thing! And what happened? Did she, have fish and chips for a dinner every night?
I took her to Chelsea. She got a bit confused.
Wrapped up in newspaper, eh?
Yeah, she got a bit confused in Chelsea, so I took her a bit further north. I took her a bit closer to the M1.
That's a typical attitude. Let me tell you a bit about the history of Aintree. I mean, in the 50s and 60s, right? And you're not going to remember, I was growing up as a kid, and that was the only race my dad and mum ever used to bet on. We used to sit there on the couch.
Did you used to take the witch with you?
Eh?
Did you used to take the witch with you?
She was in Blackburn. She was too old to travel.
She might have been good at the old
the prophecies and all that, yeah maybe. But, no, what used to happen, we used to sit on the couch there and we all had 10p each way on a horse or something like that, But in those days, believe it or not, most of the crowd got in free. Because Aintree was just a huge common, a bit like Epsom Common is now.
Oh, OK.
Right? And
so there were no gates or anything?
There were no gates or anything. It was just a big heath. And the thing nearly went bankrupt. The main stand was falling to pieces. Parts of it were actually closed off because it was unsafe and all that. And then somebody recognised it as a great sporting venue. Right. And hundreds of £1 million have been spent since. And it really is now. It's as good as Cheltenham. It's beautiful.
I'm sure it is.
I went 2 years ago and it's
only we could spare the time to go.
Well, one of these days we will, don't worry.
Yeah.
But I do hope that we don't get the usual snobbish thing about, look at all the slappers from Liverpool, out of Aintree, look at them all falling around on their high heels. And
the trouble is, though...
drunk.
Trouble is, you normally would be castigating women for doing that. Like, if they do it in the middle of a high street, you give them a hard time, and you say that if they have to go to hospital because they're injured, that they should be forced to pay. Yeah, so how is this any different?
Because when the girls go on a day out in a charabanc, right, and so it means they're not driving, like no responsibilities like that.
No, they're not driving when they're out getting sozzled out on the street,
They want to have a few sherbets, a couple of bottles of champagne in the stretch limo on the way there. Stretch limos, they're so down market. Well, I see plenty of stretch limos at Ascot, and I see plenty at Cheltenham.
Well, yeah.
So, why is it suddenly when a stretch limo turns up at Aintree, it's suddenly a down market working class practice?
Well, it's a bit gauche, isn't it, to go around in a stretch limo, for heaven's sake.
Well, we used to drive around in stretch limos in New York in the 80s.
Well, that's because
it was very fashionable, wasn't it?
Well, it wasn't so much that. It was just that if you couldn't get a cab, you couldn't get a cab, you would just hire one down and they would stop and pick you up.
Well, what you used to do is, if you went to the Metropolitan Museum of Art any night of the week, when there was always a do on there.
Which you used to do frequently,
I did, yeah, there was always a do on there.
Not to see the art, mind you.
No, not to see the art, no. There were always a load of stretch limos parked outside. Yeah. And there were always a load of stretch limos parked outside on Broadway.
Yeah.
Because, of course, it brought rich people in to see the theatre. Right. So you could go up to a driver and to impress a lady.
So this would be your MO, would it?
Oh, absolutely. If
I pretend it was waiting for you.
Absolutely. If you were picking up, if you were picking up a lady for dinner in New York, down to Broadway in a yellow cab, then walk along the line of stretches until you found a guy who would take $60. You start off at $40, then $50, $60, and then you say, right, well, I'm getting in the back, right? You make out you're my driver, go and pick up a lady, and then we're going to this restaurant. It's all you had to do. Took an hour, and then he came back and parked outside the theatre again, and his owners.
What? So you'd give him the money first?
Yeah.
Well, then you'd go and find a woman?
No. I told the woman I was meeting her at Rendezvous A, right?
Oh, I see.
So I said, I'll meet you there. It would be usually a hotel bar, right? Usually a hotel cocktail bar. Right. And then I'd go down to Broadway, find a stretch limo driver who was going to be accommodating to me, who had nothing to do for 3 hours while his real clients were inside the theatre.
Sure.
So I said, here, pal, $60. Now drive round. Right, park out. What was the hotel on 42nd Street? They changed the name of it in the late 80s.
It was the Hyatt.
No, the one right next. No, not the Grand Central Hyatt. No, the one right next to the Express offices. You know, Superman's building.
I know. Yeah, the Helmsley Palace.
The Helmsley Palace. That's right. Yeah. So anyway, I said to this lady, I'll see you in the cocktail bar there. So I got him to pull right onto the approach road of the Helmsley Palace, and I said, right, just wait 5 minutes, pal. You know, went in and said to the lady, oh look, you've got to finish your cocktail. Thanks, the restaurant's waiting. Came out. How impressive was it for me to open the door to a stretch limo and show? And I said, oh no. I said, this is my regular driver, because I found out what his name was. And he used to shout things like, Benson, we're ready. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but
that's unbelievable.
Do you remember it all went wrong one night when somebody actually did the job on the Bishop of New York's driver? It was the Bishop of New York's official car with purple seats, and the bloke inside threw up over the seats. Do you remember?
No, I don't remember that story.
I do, yeah, that's right. And the driver had to then take the car back with vomit all over the seats to pick up the Bishop from the theatre.
Dear me, absolutely horrendous.
It's terrible.
Anyway, I'm glad you're feeling better. Mike Parry's here. He's got a lot of pain to deal with tonight. We'll try and help him through it. We are the two Mikes. Loads more coming up.
When the night has come and the land is dark and the moon is the only light we'll see. No, I won't.
What on earth is that?
Be
I don't know. This is you singing on breakfast apparently yesterday.
Yes, no, it wasn't.
Yeah, it was.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah. You were singing on breakfast.
Oh, yes, it was.
On the Alan Brazil Sports Breakfast yesterday.
Yeah, I'll tell you what it was.
Singing Stand By Me to the wrong tune.
I have to
Why
say...
were you singing it to that tune?
I was asked to. What happened was, when I was about to leave, the producer came to me and said, we're going to fool Al today. We're going to... it was some sponsored competition, right? So I'm very happy to get involved, Brings the old dosh in to TalkSport, which is fine. And the idea was, the part of the quiz was, Al had to be tested on his knowledge of music from the 70s, 80s, 90s. Yeah. So I had to sing 3 records, but not to the tunes, to a different tune.
That sounded horrendous.
What was that one again?
That was Stand By Me.
Oh, Stand By Me, that's right. I did that, and then I had to do Rod Stewart's You Wear It Well to the tune of something like, Mrs... what's her name? Don't Put Your Daughter on the Stage or something.
Mrs. What's her name?
Yeah, or whatever. And then I had to do a third one, and I can't remember which it was. Oh, I know. It was the Ballad of John and Yoko. Oh, sorry.
No, as long as you don't say his last name.
Okay,
the Ballad of the Man Who Must Not Be Named,
right.
Yoko.
The Ballad of John Yoko to the tune of something like, Brian Ferry's Virginia Plain or something like that. You know what I mean?
Blimey.
Yeah,
sounds horrendous. I'm glad I missed that. Fortunately, I was asleep. Anyway, we've got LaDonna Harvey on the phone now because there's a massive drought in California. In fact, it's so bad that she's left the state, I believe. LaDonna, very good morning to you.
Yeah, moved back to Texas. I couldn't take it anymore.
Well,
I need more water.
Presumably you needed to wash your hands or something, so you decided to get the hell out.
Yeah, I hopped on a plane for, what was my ticket, $700 round trip so I could get a glass of water.
Yeah, that's right. You should have at least taken the car. You could have washed that while you were there as well.
That's right, because you can't wash it. But LaDonna, this is a very, very serious problem, according to my sources in California. If you go into a restaurant, you can't ask for a glass of water. You have been banned by law from washing your bed sheets. You cannot go to a car wash because they won't allow car washes to work, and you can't irrigate your garden like you've been doing in the past. There is no water. What on earth's going to become of California?
Well, we're going to dry up, but I think we all know that we're going to fall off into the ocean as well with the next earthquake. So, frankly, I think that I would worry more about the earthquakes than I would about the drought.
Yeah.
That's just me. I'm a Pollyanna.
But once again, Mr. Parry's getting very, very concerned about something which is nothing to really worry about by the sounds of it. I mean, he's been banging on about this all week, saying there's a terrible catastrophe coming in California. But I'm reading as well that California's reservoirs have got a year's worth of water left. That's a long time.
No, it's all packed ice up in the mountains, isn't it, LaDonna? Yeah, it's packed snow, but there's only 1/5 of what it should be for long-term sustenance in California.
Right. So the snowpack is very low, but we do still have reservoir capacity. The problem is we don't have enough reservoirs. And the other problem is, of course, that we can't get the environmentalists to let us build the reservoirs, so we can't actually have water because somehow that would be bad. I'm still working through that. Go ahead and criticize.
Yeah. I mean, the problem is, if you don't mind me saying this, LaDonna, I don't know if you're a natural Californian, but most people
What's a natural Californian?
Well, somebody who's born and brought up there.
A natural Californian?
Yeah. I mean, from my experience of having lived and worked in America quite extensively, most people in California are mad. And that I think that will contribute to the fact that the water's running out, because anybody in this day and age with the technology the Americans have got to have a state that hasn't got any water, frankly, is simply not on the ball.
Frankly, you are correct. Everybody in California is nuts, which is why I have to leave occasionally to go back to my roots. I'm a native Texan, just so you know.
Yeah, good.
I've got a Lone Star tattooed right square on my bum.
Excellent.
It took us 15 years to get one desalination plant okayed in the entire state of California, and the people who were fighting against it were environmentalists. Yeah. They would not let us build it. We have an entire ocean off the coast.
Well,
we
that's
can
the thing.
definitely do this.
Exactly. The Pacific Ocean, you think, might be able to give up a bit of water.
That's the greatest resource you've got, really, isn't it? But, I mean, is this actually going to be a problem? I mean, have they stopped? I mean, in Rodeo Drive, are they having just to drink, water that they've imported in bottles? Is that really what's going on?
Well, here's the other problem, of course, that most of the imported bottled water is from actually California.
Right, yeah.
But we're not going to stop that because they pay the state of California, Nestle pays the state of California a whole boatload of money in order to pull that water out of the ground. So Nestle doesn't actually have to stop flushing its toilets or filling its water bottles. I do.
Tell me this, LaDonna, because it's one of life's great mysteries. Every summer, about 200 or 300 homes in California burn down because you get wildfires that you can't contain, which sweep across, California and burn everybody's houses down. You haven't got any water. You're all in desperate danger of dying from a massive earthquake any day now, and that is every day of the life. Why did you ever bother populating California anyway? Why didn't you just leave it? There's plenty of other space in America.
Well, we grew wine and then we got drunk. We didn't really know what to do.
That's probably true.
We just stayed.
Yeah, no, that's...
Well, that's something you can relate to, isn't it, finally?
Yeah,
now you know your answer.
I can. And, LaDonna, before you go, I need to ask you this. You're a native of Texas.
A natural Texan.
A natural Texan, yeah. I have said many times to people in this country, and I get roundly mocked for it, that I live a lot of my life along the principles of what I saw in Dallas and how J.R. Ewing led his life. I am very proud of that. Was J.R. Ewing a very typical Texan with the sort of values that made America great?
Absolutely. Yes.
Thank you. He was very much into...
That's it then. That's it then. So now you've become convinced.
Yeah.
Because LaDonna Harvey has said yes to you.
Well, the lady's a natural Texan.
You're absolutely pathetic.
Natural Texan. She says J.R. Ewing was one of the great Americans, right. OK? And I've always said that. Now it's been backed up by a lady who was born and brought up in the Lone Star State.
No, you've won me over.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah. LaDonna, don't listen to him.
I have the Lone Star tattooed on my butt. How could you not believe me?
Well, exactly, yeah. And we need a picture of that someday just to...
Take it easy.
Just to let our listeners know of your association with the Lone Star State. Absolutely.
Are you going to stay away until they bring some more water in? Then is that what's happening?
Until I can have a glass of water with my wine at my favourite restaurant, yes, I'm staying away.
Actually, presumably the water must be damaging the wine business. That's something Porky should be worried about because he likes to spot a Californian wine.
I certainly do.
Is that affecting the wine? Is it affecting the vineyards? No.
No. Grapes, if you dry farm grapes, they do very, very well. Ask France. know all about this.
Excellent.
Grapes don't take a whole lot of water. It's almonds that are killing us.
I'm sure they will. Right. Well, listen, LaDonna, always great to talk to you. Next time you're at your meeting of the Daughters of the Alamo, which I know is a secret women's society in Texas, send them my best regards, please, as a an associate of that great state.
I will absolutely do so. With pleasure.
Thank you very much. Have a lovely time. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah.
There's an awful lot of abuse coming your way after what you said about Blackburn, by the way.
Oh, no, it's not.
Yeah.
No, they know I meant it affectionately.
I've got Stephen saying, surely the magic of the FA Cup is a little club doing well.
No, it's not.
William says, if I were UMG, I would definitely deter Porky from booking any of the future 2 Mike's live gigs in Blackburn.
Oh, right, OK.
Which is another
Have Blackburn got a theatre?
What do you mean, have they got a theatre?
Well,
what sort of an insult is that?
No, it's not.
Of course they've got a theatre.
No, it's a serious question.
Well, of course they've got a theatre.
But I mean, what sort of a theatre?
Well, I don't know.
Is it only take about 60 people? And
I've
they
no
do,
idea.
Sort of.
Why are you slagging off Blackburn?
I'm not slagging off. Maybe they have it for the annual gang show at Christmas. Local scouts and that sort of thing.
And
you see, you're laughing
another
now.
one from Stephen.
It's serious.
He says,
I used to cover the gang show at the Chester Gateway Theatre.
Yeah, great, good for you. Blackburn have won FA Cup nearly as many times as Liverpool. How about that?
Yeah, but hang on, that was a century ago. I have to remind everybody.
Well, you keep going on about Everton winning it in 1960 or whatever.
Hang on, 1995 is the last time we won it, mate.
Jozza says, knowing Mr. Parry's in pain tonight has brought a big smile to my face. And Mike says,
really? That's
Mr.
nice.
Parry, maybe it's time you let go of your youth and get a car more suitable for a larger, older gentleman.
Like what? Like a Jaguar? Well, I had 4 of those, mate, and then I thought I'd get something a bit slicker.
Yeah. And also, Joe says they haven't made Jags in Halewood for years. In touch with the common man, Parry.
Well, what do they make there now, then?
Well, I don't know. Maybe they don't make anything.
They're expanding the factory. If it's not Jaguars...
No, maybe it's Nissans now.
No, it's not. If it's not Jaguars, it's Land Rovers. And Land Rover Jaguar are the same company. So it's the same investment from the Indian entrepreneurs who bought the company, revived it, the Tartars, revived it and made it one of the world's leading automotive companies.
They don't make Jaguars there anyway. And I've just been informed that actually Blackburn have won the FA Cup more times than Everton.
Well, again, that must have been a century and a half ago. Because I don't remember Blackburn winning the FA Cup, and I've been alive, a few years. I've never seen them win it.
Been alive quite a few years.
In fact, the mockery now which people heap on Wigan as they keep going down is that Dave Whelan, the owner and chairman in his 80s now, keeps talking about the cup final in which he was taken off with a broken leg, which ended his football career.
Story,
and that was when he was playing for Blackburn.
He says that almost as often as you say.
What
only
year
one
was that?
third
Was
of
that
your heart
61?
works.
Was that 61?
I don't know.
Because 63, Manchester United won it, the Centenary Cup final. They beat Leicester 3-1, Gordon Banks in goal.
How can you remember that?
60, because I saw it.
I mean, you can't remember what I said to you 5 minutes ago.
Hang on, 62 was Spurs, because they won it for the second year.
Yeah.
Or was it 60? And in 61 they won the double. So I reckon it was 62.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah.
What, Wigan?
No, Blackburn.
Oh, Blackburn.
No, Wigan won it under Mr. Martinez 2 years ago.
No, I'm talking about when Whelan broke his leg.
Yeah, when Whelan. I'm sure that was 62. Yeah,
right, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad we sorted that out.
Quite right.
He's Mike Parry, I'm Mike Graham. Loads more coming.
Something, there's one channel on your multi-channel TV, and I can't remember which one it is. It's Sky One, could be, and they play Simpsons just over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Some days you look at the schedules, I don't know whether it's a Saturday or a Sunday, and it just says Simpsons, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock. And so if you're a Simpson fanatic, you could digest yourself on it for hours and hours and hours. I can handle it for about 20 minutes, and then the sheer... What is it that turns me off The Simpsons?
It's a cartoon.
I know it's a cartoon, but is it the sheer barbarity of Homer Simpson? The sheer lack of humanity?
No.
The sheer stupidity of the wife's hair?
No, surely not.
Which piles up 6 feet on her head and all that.
Homer Simpson isn't in any way lacking in humanity.
He is.
I would say he's a guy that has a lot of pathos around him, actually.
Oh, well, I remember seeing one once when he went into the big city, and it was supposed to be New York, so I don't know where they're supposed to live. Where they live?
They're supposed to live in the Midwest somewhere.
Midwest or something like that. But he drove to New York. And then he parked his car where it shouldn't have been parked. And he got a wheel clamp.
Right.
But he's such an ignoramus, he didn't bother with trying to get it off or anything. He just got in the car and drove back.
Right.
And needless to say, the car was smashed to pieces by the time he got home. The wheels had gone, the wing had gone and all that kind of stuff. And I kind of couldn't quite get it, you see what I mean?
You couldn't get it?
Couldn't quite get it,
right,
no.
Okay.
No.
Well, anyway, there's a character in it called Ned Flanders.
Oh, I know about Ned Flanders.
Have you heard about him?
Well, I've heard about the Ned Flanders Syndrome, which you're probably going to tell me about.
No, I'm going to tell you about that. Because I think you suffer suffer from it.
That's rubbish.
I mean, it's all about... It's partly religious stereotyping because he's this kind of, Christian, very nice bloke. But it's also about how if you're too nice, or you appear to be too nice and you appear to be too kind of, religious as well.
Well, people do interpret me as that sometimes.
I've never known anyone to interpret you as too nice.
Yeah.
But basically, you don't get the girl, is the answer.
Well, you see, I understand the principle of this, but of course I can knock that down instantly by saying, well, I've had the girl on
I know, but you haven't
quite a few occasions.
But you haven't kept one, though.
No, well, that's my choice.
No, I don't think it is your choice.
No woman's yet met the standards that I require for a life partner.
I don't believe that. I think what's really happened is that they've all decided to have a good look at what you are, what you're about, and then run 100 miles an hour in the opposite direction.
That's utter rubbish.
And they might have had a good time with you, like in the back of the stretched limo. You've taken them to nice places. Yeah, you've spent a lot of money on them, and you've attempted to show them that you're Mr. Big.
No.
But in the end, they look at your kind of rather bizarre lifestyle and go, "I don't fancy living with that guy."
No, this is utter rubbish. I mean, the point is, I have standards. I believe in leading a decent Christian life. Why do you laugh at that?
Because you don't.
Laugh at that? I do.
You've convinced yourself
I
of
do.
that.
I do.
What have you
did.
What have you done today that would be in keeping with a Christian life?
You lead a Christian life by applying your life to Christian principles. Oh, by the way,
right, today. What have you done today?
Well, the tabby cat reappeared in the roof garden today.
Oh, what, the one that's like sort of eating all the plants?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So I had to give him the old ammonia spray.
Right.
Yeah, which I did.
So he was the frightening face didn't do it for him then.
No, I thought it had done.
So you sprayed ammonia at an animal.
I did.
Right. What? Right at it?
No, in the air so the droplets of ammonia came down from the air, and he ran off. So that was fine.
He did, yeah.
But I mean, it shouldn't be in my garden. I don't want, somebody else's cat, and what it's doing, 6 or 8 floors up.
Was he interfering with the irrigation?
No, not as such. But I mean, I don't want cats around. If I wanted cats around, I'd have a cat of my own, wouldn't I? Right. So I didn't want him around. But no, what you're saying is this Ned. What's his name?
Ned Flanders.
Ned Flanders. If I stick to my Christian principles, like for instance, I believe a woman shouldn't swear.
Yeah.
Really? Yeah, I don't. And if a woman
swears...
What
about these girls at Aintree?
They don't swear. They don't swear.
They swear.
I've never heard them swearing.
Of course they swear.
No, they don't. They don't.
Have you ever been to Aintree and followed them around?
I have. I've been amongst them at Aintree.
You're telling me that they don't swear?
I've never heard them swear.
Really?
I do not hear them swear. I'm telling you.
Break.
Well, you see, you're being dismissive again. Being dismissive because they're northern girls. They're very ladylike.
I'm not talking about whether northern girls or southern girls or eastern girls or western girls. But when girls are together at a race and they're getting drunk, they swear.
We're not focusing on them. What I believe is, I believe the lady shouldn't swear. I believe that if I have to get up at 5 o'clock because I'm going to work and doing a breakfast show or something like that, they should get up with me. But many of them over the years have always said, no, I want to lie in.
Yeah.
Because I believe that, the first ethos of a Christian disciplined life is that you work for a living. So you get out of bed, you don't stay there all day.
Yeah, but are you talking about the sort of the Christian beliefs that were around at the time of the Bible being written?
No.
So that women were just chattels?
No, of course not. I just believe...
Why should they do whatever you want?
Well, it's not what I want, it's what is right. It's what is right.
No, it is what you want. You said you want them to get up at the same time as you.
Yeah, I do.
And you don't want them to swear. So that's what you want.
Yes, I do.
So you believe you're superior to them.
I think if the millions of listeners listening to us now, I think they'd all agree that is a fantastic principle in life, Mr. Parry.
I don't think it is.
To associate with a woman who doesn't swear, yes, that's a winner. To insist that if you've got to get out of bed at 5 o'clock in the morning, then your girlfriend should share your pain.
None of them have ever hung around with you.
Pain, and she should get out of bed as well and get moving and get on with the day and get working. There is nothing wrong with those principles.
But you don't want them to work either, do you? You want them to stay home and cook for you.
Utter rubbish. No, utter rubbish. That is utter rubbish.
You don't want to have a better job than you, though, do you?
Well, that's their choice. But no, Mike, that's their choice. But not many people that I've ever met have ever had a better job than me. No, they haven't.
And you wonder why you're not married.
No, they haven't.
You really seriously believe they haven't all walked away from you?
I have never met a woman in the whole of my life, my extensive life, who's had a better job than me. Not because I've been choosy and thought, right, I don't want you, you've got a better job than me. You just don't meet women who've ever had a better job than me.
That's because you never chat up women who've got a better job than you, because they frighten you. They terrorise you because you're scared of their intellect and their money-making power.
That's not true.
Yes, it is.
It is not true at all. What I do is I appreciate the work women do. I'd love to meet a woman who's very successful in life, but
you'd be scared to talk to her.
No,
because you would know that the stretched limo behaviour, the let's go to a top restaurant behaviour, the landing in a helicopter behaviour, wouldn't impress them, because they'd go, what does that mean?
Yeah, well, I like to impress people.
That don't impress me much.
No, listen, don't you think that, you say impress, what I say is to make them feel good about themselves.
No, to make you feel good about yourself.
No, to make them feel good about themselves. If I hire a helicopter and take a lady to the Epsom Derby, the Epsom races...
If she can afford her own helicopter...
No.
She's not interested.
Don't you think she feels good about herself flying in on a helicopter,
not with
a
you,
whirly bird? I think she does.
Not with you.
I think if I
mean, and the last person she wants to have a helicopter at Epsom with is with you staggering out the back after her, because they'll think she's obviously got some kind of problem.
No, that's funny, dude.
Yeah, I mean, if she's getting out of it with Brad Pitt or something, or she's getting out of it with Cristiano Ronaldo,
really?
they'd like that.
Yeah.
But when you start sort of, with your sciatica, sort of limping out the back of the helicopter, she's not going to feel good about herself, is she?
I've never had a problem in those sort of things.
Really?
If I turn up to pick a young lady up to take her for dinner and I'm in a stretch limo, she feels good about herself getting into a stretch limo.
Not if she's in one all the time.
That's my only motive in life. Not to make me feel good, to make the lady I'm with feel good.
Well, here's what this study says, which has been done by... it's a paper published by the Social, Psychological and Personality Science.
Well, they sound like a bunch of nutters.
They're from Oxford University, actually.
Yeah, a bunch of nutters.
One of the places which was almost your alma mater,
It was. I had an interview at Brasenose College.
And what they say is that people believe that anyone who believes themselves to be religious or believes themselves to be kind of, a nice person is too set in their ways. They don't understand any kind of, interesting... different ideas from different people, and they're very conservative, and that pretty much sums you up.
No, it doesn't. That doesn't sum me up at all.
It does.
It doesn't, honestly. That doesn't sum me up at all. It's another falsehood that you've pitted against me, and I have to say I rather resent it. You see, the problem is you mirror it against your moral fibre.
There's nothing different about our moral fibre.
Your life's been largely a disgrace.
No, it hasn't.
Yes,
it's been a wonderful triumph
morals
and a joy,
of an alley
actually.
cat. You've had the morals of an alley cat all your life, and I think it's an absolute disgrace.
Well, I wouldn't spray ammonia on the alley cat, which is what you would do.
Well, the cat shouldn't have been around. Listen, talking about principles in life and all that kind of stuff, I've found out through my anthropological studies that the only reason humans have a chin is to attract the opposite sex. Yeah. Because all other...
There's your other problem. You've covered it in hair.
No. All other living forms don't have chins. Have you noticed that?
All other primates, I think they mean, don't they?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they don't have chins.
I've never really noticed that.
No, we're the only ones who have chins.
Chimpanzees have chins, then?
No, don't have chin.
What do they have instead?
Just like a mouth. I mean, if you see what I mean.
You've really studied this.
No, if you see what I mean.
No, but I'm sure they've got chins. I read the same study, and I thought, that seems a bit odd.
It's cooking which stopped humans from being chinless wonders. Yeah. The only reason we developed a chin was because in order to eat, we had to have a protrusion at the bottom of our face or the bottom of our skull, which helped us eat, because we weren't walking around on all fours like the others were. You see what I mean?
Right. So you'll be walking around on all fours in the sky. That doesn't get any better, though.
I might be crawling around on all fours. But if you see what I mean, if you're sitting...
I'm trying to picture why a chimpanzee doesn't have a chin.
Well,
I'll have to look one up.
Because a chimpanzee can get onto all fours and scoop food into its mouth in a horizontal fashion. Whereas
I'm picturing a face of a chimp, and I'm thinking it's got a chin.
No, it hasn't got a chin. I'm going to
have to look one up.
Well, look, here, this is a chimpanzee.
Well, yeah, but you've got a chin, though, so that's not really
I know I have, but when I bare my teeth to you...
Yeah, all right, calm down.
Now, if you look at me and think, I'm a chimpanzee, well, I'm not, obviously, but...
I do think that sometimes.
No, all you see in a chimpanzee's face are the teeth and then nothing. You see what I mean?
Well, I'm going to look at a picture and see if I can familiarise myself.
Well, what do you look at a picture for? You've never seen a chimpanzee before? Chimpanzee.
Well, you've done very well in the chin department, haven't you? I mean, you've got more than most people have got.
I've got a robust face, and it's... ladies normally describe it as a lived-in face.
Yes. It's not a compliment, as I've said to you before.
Philosophers and theologians have long pondered on how evolution can explain the beauty of the natural world. Evolutionary theorists struggle to say why humans, unique among animals, have a bony protuberance at the end of the jaw. Some have claimed it's a strong Kirk Douglas-type chin that might have evolved as a form of sexual significance, while others have suggested it helps with speech.
See, I don't think it's true.
Chewing.
I've got a picture of a chimp here now, and it's got a chin.
No, it hasn't.
That's a chin.
No, it hasn't got a chin.
And the thing underneath its mouth.
No.
What is that?
That's just a curve away from its bottom lip.
It's just a chin.
No, it's not, no. Now, James Pampush, who wrote this report, an evolutionary anthropologist at the University of Florida, FLA, F-L-A, believes that evidence for the role of evolutionary accidents is as plain as the chin on your face. He says, we give natural selection too much credit. Natural selection is the most important part of the history of life, but it's not the overwhelmingly powerful sculpting force that so many think it is. I don't know what on earth this is all about.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know.
Let me read you a couple of texts.
He says chins are the perfect way to show evolutionary anthropology is all about humans The only animals to ever to have a chin. I don't understand.
No, I know you don't.
Right,
Anybody else?
I don't know how I read that out.
Mick from Blackburn has texted into 81089. He says, Blackburn last played in the FA Cup final in 1960, and as for slagging Blackburn, at least they have won the Premier League, something Everton haven't done. So that's quite a good point, isn't it?
That's absolutely true. And who was the captain when they won it?
I don't know. I'm not.
Of course you do.
What?
Who was the captain of Blackburn when they won the Premier League?
Was it Steve?
Yes, it was. Well, Tim Sherwood. Tim Sherwood, absolutely.
All right, Georgie says this. Two mics. One of you has to be aware the mocking words of Porky espousing the town of Blackburn were known to be expected from him, hence the hex cursed upon him by getting out of his car and a lovely feeling of sciatica being sent from a lady of Pendleton. Watch your back, Porky.
Well,
So I think you've been cursed by...
Could be the curse.
But
witches. Surely the people of Blackburn understand that I'm not putting down Blackburn or slagging it off. I am trying to promote the FA Cup as the great competition it is.
Right.
Yes.
By saying they shouldn't be in it.
Yes, that's right, yeah.
It's very smooth.
Yeah.
And here's somebody else who says you're smooth. Kent Milky says, Porky, you're a smooth operator. What was the lady across the landing's response when you knocked and offered her your stale hot cross buns?
Well, A, they weren't stale. Right, and B, she's very grateful for them, actually.
Really?
Yes.
Did she invite you in to toast one with her?
No, because I didn't want to...
I'm intrigued by this woman across the way.
Why?
Because you only mentioned her for the first time, like last week.
No. Well, I don't want to put the
How
spotlight on her.
often do you knock on her door and give her stuff?
I mean, that's a very unfortunate way of explaining.
Well, I mean, it's a
my interaction with my neighbours. Yeah. I mean, very rarely, because we're neighbours, we have a joint interest in the well-being of the apartment block and all that kind of stuff.
So you must be very much in favour of you had dragging builders in and out of the place every 5 minutes.
Well, funny enough,
and having to go with the cleaners.
Funny enough, she's
the time, by the way.
Yeah. No, funny enough, she's quite particular because
she had a chin.
She's got a chin, yeah. She had a load of builders in this week, and when I said, what are you all doing? For some unknown reason, she was having her ceilings redone. She doesn't like Pebble Dash ceilings.
Really?
So she's had them all smoothed
over.
No, it's not Pebble Dash. What's it called?
Yeah, it's that horrible kind of plastic
what's
stuff,
isn't it?
What's
it called, Ben? The ceilings when,
Artex.
Artex, that's right. Yeah, something like the Artex design.
Horrendous.
But I mean, how many people actually go around looking at their ceilings?
Well, maybe she spends a lot of time lying on her back.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe she does, yeah. Maybe.
This is Talk Sports Extra Time. We look into the light for a second because it's getting very late.
On digital radio and 1089 and 1053 AM. Talks.
This is TalkSport Extra Time. We are the two mics, so there will be a podcast, of course, coming out a little bit later on. Great success with the podcast yesterday. There was no double speak on it. Came out.
Exactly.
It was absolutely fine. Didn't have any errors on it at all.
So for once, you managed to do the only job I asked you to do after we finished this show, and you got the podcast right.
I just thought you should mention that because you only ever moan when there's something wrong with it, and you never ever say it was good when it was when there isn't anything wrong with it.
Yeah,
which is 99% of the time.
No, listen, the podcasts are excellent. Thank you to everybody who downloads them, by the way, because in the podcast charts got up to number 4 last Friday, didn't we?
Yes, we certainly did.
Yeah, which is excellent. Listen, we're talking about the ladies at Aintree who are roundly mocked by the Daily Mail and people like that.
Yes.
The other lady who I think is getting a really, really hard time is Princess Beatrice.
Why?
Well, because every time she goes on a holiday or a trip or something like that, one newspaper or another writes, Bee's on her 9th holiday of the year, and it's only March, And one this week was, Bee's on her 10th holiday of the year, and it's only just April. Well, what's it got to do with anybody? Why can't she go on holiday?
Well, because people still have that hangover about the royal family, that regardless of the fact that the civil list has been cut down, so that people like her technically don't receive anything. Obviously there are still members of the royal family that do receive money, and so they think, well, she's probably getting this on the taxpayer.
Well, no, what they really...
She's not travelling with like security and all that kind of thing.
No, she doesn't travel with security anymore. They cut that out, and her father, Prince Andrew, who's better known as Prince Air Miles,
Prince Air Miles,
because he travels so much at the public expense.
Yeah.
Went mad when they pulled away the royal protection. But I mean, she's a young lady now. She should be able to look after herself. She's got a boyfriend and all that. No, the main complaint that they make is that, she hasn't got a job. Apparently she had a job with Sony, which finished just before Christmas, earning £20,000 a year.
Right.
Now, it is absolutely ludicrous to expect a royal princess to do a job.
Why?
Well, because it's...
Yeah, but she's only a royal
ludicrous.
princess kind of by accident in a way, and she's never ever going to have to do anything official. She's never really going to ever have anything to do with the running of the
nevertheless,
crown,
she's a royal princess, and she can't...
Well, why can't she get a job?
Because she can't work in a work environment with other people. She's a princess. She was brought up in the environs of places like Buckingham Palace.
No, not really, not for long, because she was kicked out of there, wasn't she? I mean, they used to let them into Sandringham at Christmas. They used to be down at the lodge at the end of the road.
Look, she's been brought up in a very, very privileged arena. cleaner, right?
So have a lot of people, though. They still get jobs.
Well, no, she doesn't. She shouldn't have a job. I just don't think our royal family should go to work. It demeans
royal family.
family.
We should pay for them to exist, then? Is that what you think?
Well, I think there is a...
Well, I'm not interested in paying for them to exist. I don't mind paying for the Queen. I don't mind paying for the heir to the throne. And I don't even mind paying for the heir's heir to the throne. But I don't think we should be paying for all manner of sundry people like Princess Michael of Kent and Princess Beatrice.
We're going to. The Queen is
we don't put them on the civil list anymore, do we?
No, we don't. But the Queen's one of the richest women in the world. Now, all her wealth is inherited wealth, right? But with that wealth, she can well support people like Princess Beatrice, and should. I don't think Beatrice should be expected to work.
But she shouldn't be taking it out of what she gets from the public purse, though.
No, she's not. What she gets from the public purse is running costs for the buildings and basically for performing her royal duties during the year.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
You know, by the way, she does hundreds. She does about 500 a year.
She doesn't do so many now because she's getting on a bit.
Yeah, well, she is. Well, Prince Charles takes some over, and so does Prince
Listen,
William.
I don't have a problem with the senior
members
members of the royal family.
But what I'm saying is, I just think it's ludicrous. Every time that Princess Beatrice has gone off skiing because her parents have got a chalet over in Verbier.
Well, she's not doing that for 20 grand a year,
No, of course she's not. And what I'm saying is she deserves to enjoy the privilege her parents have bestowed upon her because she was born into a wealthy family.
Well, then what comes with that sometimes is a little bit of scrutiny from the press. I can't believe that you, as a former journalist, are actually having a go at this.
No, I'm having a go at the I was going to say the gutter press, of which I was a proud member for 35 years.
Yeah, at its pinnacle.
Yeah,
I mean, you were presumably ordering people to write these kind of stories when you were in that business.
Of course, yes, absolutely.
So why are you suddenly changing your tune?
Well, because I look at it with a more paternal attitude now, and I say that this poor girl is being barracked all the time, as though she's...
Barracked?
as though she's, doing something terribly wrong. She's not. She's living up to the lifestyle in the lifestyle in which she was brought up.
There were certainly some people...
And that's what you've got to do.
There were certainly some people questioning the authenticity of Prince Andrew buying for about 3 million quid this Swiss chalet, this ski chalet.
10 million.
10 million quid.
10 million it cost, yeah.
And did he not get a mortgage or something for 3 million? Something happened anyway. But where's he getting this money from? Is that money from the civil list or is that money from Mummy? Or
it's
where's
inherited
he getting
money.
From?
I mean, Charles, for instance, gets a massive income from the Duchy of Cornwall.
That's right.
Which is farmland, basically, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, which he was given.
Yes, he was given.
Right.
Well, I don't
nobody gave me some farmland in Cornwall.
No, I don't resent that. You see, what they have is exactly the same as what the Russian oligarchs have.
Yeah.
Because they were given that as well. Well, I don't see the calls
That doesn't make it right, though, does it?
Well, it doesn't make it wrong either. That's life.
Well, I don't think
life
it is.
Isn't fair. Life isn't fair.
It is. I don't think life. I don't care whether life is fair or not.
You sound like a little socialist bum now who says
I'm very far from being a socialist.
we should all be paid the same amount of money.
I'm very far from being a socialist.
I know your type. Your type was the type that used to come around my school when I was about 8 or 9 years of age, and used to say, of course, a brain surgeon should be paid the same as a bin man.
That's never what I said.
That's the sort of society we want.
No, that's not what I want.
Did you used to have school elections, by the way?
No.
Because there's an election coming up in this country, obviously, which we won't talk about because we're not allowed to. But we used to have school elections, and I always won it. I always... No, I did. What are you laughing
elections
at?
For what, though?
Well, you stood as
the biggest plank.
No, that's very nice. The plank party. No, I don't think so. No, I say, right, these are my policies.
But to do what, though? The student council or something?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Well, that's a load of talking shop, a load of old cobblers.
Well, it doesn't matter. The point...
It's typical of you to want to win an election.
No, the point is I put myself forward, didn't I?
See, I was more of an anarchist.
One of them was pro-monarchy. I said support the royal family.
No.
They are a fantastic...
awful child you must
fantastic
have been.
Head of the British establishment.
You're just an awful child.
So what are you? An anarchist commie?
No, I wasn't a commie particularly, but I was very much against the system. I just anytime somebody told me what to do, I immediately did something else.
But that was so typical, wasn't it, of rebellious youth?
Yeah.
I mean, couldn't you do something a bit different, like me?
Well, I rebelled. Well, I'll tell you how I rebelled.
Different.
When I went to the College of Further Education, where I went to do my A-levels,
yes.
Everyone there was a commie, right? And my economics lecturer was a member of the Communist Party.
You're joking.
So I immediately...
You should have been arrested.
So I immediately decided...
Should have been arrested,
It's not America. It's not illegal to be a member of the Communist Party.
Well, it is in my mind.
Well, in your mind, possibly. A lot of things are illegal in your mind. Yeah. Anyway, so I decided to set up the Young Conservatives Association.
Oh, excellent.
Just not because I cared about being a conservative, just because I wanted to wind the guy up.
Right.
And so that was what I did. But then later, I did some stuff for a Labour. When I was in a conservative kind of place, I went Labour. I just always wanted to stick two fingers up to whoever was running stuff.
I did a bit of that because what happened was I don't know why, we were doing the British Constitution, and so we watched, for some unknown reason, on television during our class, the opening of Parliament.
Yeah.
And, the old black rod banging on the door and all that kind of stuff. And then some kid stood up behind me, said, this is an outrage. He said something like, inside Parliament there are billions of pounds of wealth, and 200 yards down the road, because I'd never been to London, I didn't know where London was, there's a block of council flats where people live 6 to the room, and there's only 1 toilet for every 4 families, which I thought sounded pretty bad, really, because I thought, because I lived in Laurel Grove in Chester, and we had an inside toilet and an outside toilet.
Oh, fantastic.
Exactly.
Luxury.
Oh, yeah, we were. Luxury family. And I thought I was a bit harsh. So for about 3 weeks, I became a communist.
Right.
I wanted.
Well, I think that's normal.
I wanted social equality. But then, as soon as my father found out I was asking for social equality, he stopped giving me any pocket money, and said, "This is what social equality is all about." And so I reneged on the social equality.
Once again for money. Now here's one from Bernadine in Darwin, who says there is a great King George's Hall in Blackburn that holds a few thousand people. Also, I know what Mike Parry is going through, as I have 2 prolapsed discs that press on my nerves all the time.
Dear me.
I have fibromyalgia that leaves me in chronic pain 24 hours a day.
God, that sounds incredibly painful.
And I also have ME that leaves me mentally and physically exhausted every day.
Oh, you poor person. What's this person's name?
Bernadine. So you should stop
that's
complaining.
A lady, is it?
Well, I would think so.
Well, Bernadine, you have our extreme sympathies. I'm very sorry to hear you're not well. Get well soon. I will be praying for you, and I promise that. I mean that sincerely.
Praying.
I'll be thinking of you.
That's
yes.
not going to make any difference.
No, of course it does.
And
Don't worry. The power of thought and the power of persuasion
Anthony
works
says this
brilliantly.
Surely Hillary Clinton has a better job than Porky, or is that another lie of his exposed and he's never even met her? Because you said you never met anybody that's got a better job than you.
Well, I have met Hillary Clinton.
No, she has got a better job than you, hasn't she? Even you'd have to admit that.
She hasn't got a job at the moment.
What do you mean she hasn't got a job?
What's her job?
Well, she's running for president, isn't she?
No, she hasn't announced that.
Yeah, she will be.
No, well, she hasn't.
Yes,
she's resigned as a senator. She's the wife of a former president.
She was the Secretary of State.
She was, I agree.
Is that a better job than yours?
Well, she hasn't got a job.
Can you?
She hasn't got a job at the moment.
Can you?
She
can't
hasn't.
Say it.
What's her job title at the moment?
Never mind that. Is Secretary of State?
No, that's a
for
crucial
the United
fact.
States of America.
She was the Secretary of State.
Is that a better job
she
than
was
yours?
a senator for New York State.
Is that a better
she
job
is
than
not
yours?
now. It's irrelevant.
You can't say, can you?
Listen, you might as well ask me, have I got a better job than Mrs. Thatcher? Unfortunately, she's dead, but she was the Prime Minister, right? I don't know what you're laughing at. Honestly.
This is Talk Sport.
When you've got no defence, you just giggle.
This is Talk Sport Extra Time. We are the two Mikes. There will be a podcast coming out. There will be, of course, another edition of Porkyvision coming up very, very shortly as well.
Yep.
A Smethwick man says this. These tales make me regret not being a journo. I should have joined the Express and Star in 1988. But there you go. I don't think it's as much fun now as it used to be. And Sam says this. Yet another fine English town. Mike Parry is slated on national radio. He'll be living like Salman Rushdie soon.
No.
Hashtag man of the people.
Not at all. I love Blackburn. It's a great northern... I love the Lancashire towns. I love their architecture. I mean, towns in the south, for some unknown reason, didn't bother building town halls during the Industrial Revolution. Probably because they didn't have anything to boast about. The only town that was any good during the 17th, 18th and 19th centuries in the south was London. There weren't any of the good towns. Well, Oxford was all right.
What about Bath?
Bath wasn't
the
bad.
Roman city.
Yeah, that was...
what about Bristol?
Yeah, OK, that was a trading town.
What about Portsmouth?
Portsmouth's a great town.
Yeah.
And the head of the British
What about
Navy.
Plymouth?
Plymouth was good as well.
So that's about 7 so far.
Yeah, but hang on.
You said there weren't any good ones.
Yeah, but they didn't build any decent town halls.
Well,
I mean, I live in
got a town hall.
Portsmouth. Well, it's got the Guildhall.
Yeah.
Where we're performing.
Quite
actually.
bizarre coincidence.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bath had a town hall. Bath was built by the Romans, for heaven's sake.
Yeah, I know. Well, that was a long time ago. What I'm saying is that the wealth of the empire and of the nation was created and nurtured in the north of England.
Well, it's not true.
It is true.
No, it's not.
It is true. The workshop of the world, as we were called, stretched from the Black Country, Dudley, and around there, and the canals of Birmingham, up to the northwest of England.
Right.
And that was it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's no good saying, oh, well, the northeast had played. No, the northeast didn't. The northeast just had a load of mines, and people went and mined a load of coal, which they then sent to the northwest.
Well, that was very, very useful, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, of course it was very
useful.
engines. Yeah, to power all the engines, that's right, and all that kind of stuff. And they did shipbuilding in the northeast, which was good, and we don't do it anymore. And by the way, old Isambard Kingdom Brunel has a huge association with Portsmouth. I think he comes from there, actually.
Yeah. Well, he built the Clifton Suspension Bridge as well, didn't he?
Yeah, he did, yeah. Well, he built loads of things. Yeah. He built, funny enough, that little tunnel just down the river here in London. What's it called?
What, the Rotherhithe Tunnel?
Rotherhithe Tunnel.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
But, I mean, 16 men died building that tunnel. You know, it was an incredible engineering feat because it was going underneath a river for the first time.
Yeah.
And if you didn't get deep enough, all the water was flowing in from the river. I mean, it was a shocking exercise. Yeah. A bit like, actually, the Golden Gate Bridge. How many men do you think died building the Golden Gate Bridge?
I don't know, a couple of hundred?
60.
Oh,
over
really?
60, yeah. And they used to fall off the bridge, and once you hit the deck, of course, you were dead. And that is, again, a fantastic feat of engineering. But I don't know why we're talking about that, because what we should be talking about are things much more relevant to our listeners. Like, for instance, do you not think that there is far too much of the circus surrounding the Masters in the 2 or 3 days before the competition starts?
Well, not really, because it's
I
one
do.
of the, it's one of those,
I think it's got completely out of hand.
Well, you don't have to watch it. I mean, it's one of those iconic golf tournaments, and it's an iconic sporting event as well, because it also brings you the thoughts of spring. You know, make people start to feel good about themselves.
To see the guys for the last 2 days going around the course where the Masters is going to be played, to me, completely devalues the competition proper when it starts today.
No, I don't think so.
Well, I think it does.
It's just the way it's covered, isn't it? I mean, that's what you don't have to watch it if you don't want to.
And you know, and all this about when last year's winner, you know, setting up the menu for the meal on the eve of the competition and all that.
You're a great believer in tradition.
Yeah, I am. You know, when
I mean, it shows you don't like the green jacket either.
I do like the green jacket, and I think it's brilliant the way that they tailor it to the measurements of the winner minutes after the winner has actually crossed the line, so to speak.
I think it's probably done kind of rather sort of haphazardly, and they probably do it properly later.
No, I think they find out who the leading four are, and they have 4 different jackets that they make in different sizes. When Tiger won it, the next
that's
year...
what I mean. They're not, you know, rapidly sort of taking it in or expanding it or making the sleeves longer and like as they're coming up the 18th, are they?
No, of course they're not.
Well,
it's
that's
not
the
one
impression
jacket.
you gave.
No, I didn't give that impression at all. They've probably got 4 Chinese tailors, right, who are there literally making up 4 different jackets.
Why would they be Chinese?
Because Chinese are very, very good with needles.
So the Indian tailors as well?
Well, the Chinese are even better. There's a chap who used to come to New York, right, from Hong Kong.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they still do that. The Hong Kong tailors come to London as well.
Yeah, that's right. And Mr. Finn and I used to go over to...
Was that where you got your sheepskin coat from?
Yeah, no, that was a Polish coat maker in Brooklyn.
Oh, right.
No, this was... why are you laughing? Why do you find everything I say amusing?
Because New York City is full of amazing shops, right?
Yes.
Only you would be conned into taking a taxi all the way over to Brooklyn to buy a coat from some guy from Poland.
It was a stretch.
Oh, of course, a stretch limo, or to go and meet some guy in a high-priced hotel to make you a suit.
Why? He made me 2.
Well, so what?
2 suits.
You can get that done anywhere in New York.
No, you can't.
Of course you can.
No, I prefer the Chinese tailors. They're best in my view.
Is that what anyway, you get now, then? When was the last time you had a suit custom made for you by a Chinese tailor?
I don't wear a lot of suits these days, you see. I have more casual wear.
That one, the last one I saw you wearing didn't look like it was even yours.
What do you mean?
Well, it didn't fit you very well.
What's he on about?
The trousers were too long, and the arms of the suit were too long.
Oh, well, what was the occasion?
Arms of the jacket.
What was the occasion?
I think we were going to a football match or something.
Well, you see, you're doing that to try and get a few cheap laughs from the audience. That suit was magnificent. That suit was handmade, by the way. Of course it fitted me.
It was handmade for somebody else.
Of course it fitted me, you dope.
Right.
Now, we're talking
you've
about...
just got to moan about the Masters now, are you?
Well, I'm not moaning. I'm saying that I think the razzmatazz that surrounds it before it actually starts...
fantastic.
I don't. I think it's all a bit overwhelming. I'd prefer just to see the tournament get underway and people get on with it.
Well, it gets underway later on today.
It does, yeah, but it must get on, Rory McIlroy's nerves. He's such a big favourite to win it, and yet he's got to perform like a clown for 2 days before it all happens.
Considering that he's getting paid very handsomely for the purposes of that.
Doing a round with a boy band carrying his bag. I mean, that was a stunt too far, in my view.
No, he doesn't have to. Yeah, but he doesn't have to do
Which
that.
band was this guy? Was it in One Direction?
I don't know.
He's an Irish guy, so it could have been one of the Irish bands that Rory probably followed since a boy.
It wasn't Bono, was it?
No, it wasn't Bono, no. Of course, it wasn't Bono. It was probably something like...
I don't know. See, I don't watch a lot of it.
Blue or something like that.
I don't
Blue, are they a band? They're a boy band?
Blue are a boy band. They're kind of past it, though. I don't think...
I think Wayne Rooney used to follow them.
Did he?
But,
no, I mean, it's not something that I bother looking at. I mean, if I happen to see a little bit of it, it's fine, but I wouldn't complain about it.
Yeah. Anyway, talking about great events, right? Great occasions.
Apparently, it was somebody from One Direction, actually.
One Direction.
It was. Yeah.
He's an Irish boy, though, wasn't he? That's right. Yeah. Guess what it is today? Guess what the anniversary of great event is today?
I don't know. What is it?
William Wordsworth's birthday.
Why are we not doing a quiz on something like that instead of bloody Enid Blyton? We're doing a quiz on Enid Blyton, which is the worst quiz I think we've ever done.
Why? Why?
Because that was the one you wanted.
Yeah, well, what's wrong with that?
Well, because it's just a kind of infantile subject.
What do you mean infantile?
She wrote books for children.
Well, that's right. I was a child once, and I read them.
Well, I know that.
So
well, that's probably the last thing you read. But
I think that's
why,
okay.
Why couldn't we have done Wordsworth, which would be much more interesting?
Because we did a couple of poets recently.
Oh, we haven't done poets for ages.
No, okay. Well, we did painters. Anyway, look, the Daffodils is the only poem I can recite.
Can you?
Off the top of my head.
Okay, would you like to do it then?
I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high o'er vales and hills, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of dancing daffodils. Along the lake, beneath the trees, they fluttered gaily in the breeze.
Very good.
Hey, see?
Is that right, though?
Yeah, of course it is.
I don't think it is. I think you started to lose the plot. I think the first couple of lines were right.
No, it was all right.
No,
it was all right.
No, let's have a read of the true poem, shall we?
Yeah, okay, but it was all right, I'm telling you. But don't you think it's fantastic that Wordsworth's birthday, and do you know what we do? We do not celebrate our heroes' birthdays in this country. Like in America, just about every third Monday, we have a day off, don't we? A sort of bank holiday. And it's Labour Day, or it's this day, or that
they
day.
hardly have any bank holidays.
Well, you know what I'm talking about. They have all these kind of days. We simply don't celebrate our heroes, and I think Wordsworth was the greatest poet we've ever had.
Why?
Well, I love that poem, Daffodils, because it's so simple. You know, it's not configurated, it's not convoluted. It's a simple collection of English words put together to describe a most beautiful scene in the Lake District.
I must say, I did quite enjoy you announcing it there. I can't find it now.
Of course you can't. Now, I tell you the poem that I always claim to be my favourite. It's called Drake's Drum.
Oh, yeah.
Now, do you remember in New York there was a bar called Drake's Drum?
There was a bar called Drake's Drum, yeah.
And it was on 92nd Street. It was way up near, where's that towards?
It was up in sort of Midtown somewhere, wasn't it?
No, it was 92nd Street.
So sure it was above, I don't think it was that far up.
It was above the park. It was above Midtown, on its way to Harlem. That's
Yeah.
what I was looking for. And used to go there. But it's all about Drake dying. And the what's the word I'm looking for? What's the thing that comes round in a poem at the end of every verse?
What, stanza?
No, stanza. No, anyway, the one line that comes at the end of every verse is Captain, are they sleeping down below? Because Drake's dead. He's dead. Francis Drake's dead, and that's what it says. Captain, are you sleeping down below? And it goes on about Plymouth Hoe. And are you sleeping down below rhymes with Plymouth Hoe, because, of course, he was playing bowls on Plymouth Hoe when the Spanish Armada came. It's a wonderful poem, but I can't remember who wrote it, and I can't remember any of the lines.
Drake's Drum.
Drake's Drum, yeah. Right,
so here it is. I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high o'er vales and hills, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils. I think you got most of that, didn't you?
Yeah, I got all of that.
Beside the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze was
That's
the last
it,
line.
see?
You didn't quite get that right.
Yeah, but I mean, I improved
You
it
said
on
fluttering gaily, so you improved on Wordsworth.
Yeah, I did, yeah, a little bit, yeah. But
no, I was very impressed with the way you read that.
I don't think you have an appreciation of the English language in the way I do, because you have this strange tendency always to want to refer to Scottish guttural.
No, I never referred to Scottish guttural.
No, you do. And
I must confess, I would never have written the words, the snow... the sky was black as ink, and the snow was as white as a tin of Dulux paint. I'd never have written that.
Well, that's the way Mr. Brazil speaks.
Is that right?
And all I do is put down in paper, when I'm writing his life story, the words he tells me to.
Yeah, of course.
That's not a problem.
Now, coming up, it's time for Porkyvision and a look at all the big TV shows, apart from the Masters prelims that you can find out about. Coming up next on TalkSport.
TalkSport on DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM.
Freedom for sport.
Can we kick it? Yes, we can. TalkSport.
That music can only mean one thing, and it is, of course, that Mr. Parry is here now, hot from the, I don't know what you would call it, the screening room, having watched an awful lot of television over the last week, to tell us about what all the great TV is and what... lately, actually, you've been saying how terrible most of the TV is, so I'm hoping you might have found something that you like this week.
Well, I tell you what I like this week, but I'm going to be absolutely honest to the audience. I haven't actually seen it.
You haven't seen it?
No, but it's Thunderbirds.
Okay.
Absolutely
This is
brilliant.
Thunderbirds the movie, right?
No, it's Thunderbirds the new series. It's not a movie at all.
Oh, is it a series?
It used to be puppets and it's now animations,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it is absolutely brilliant.
Oh, I didn't realise that. I thought it was a movie.
No, it's a regular...
Because when we were sitting by the Thames on Friday of last week, remember? I said, did you see that Thunderbird 4
That's right.
craft
The
that was
yellow
actually,
one.
that was actually sailing up the Thames? Which I didn't see,
That's
but I
absolutely
saw
right.
a video of it.
Yeah, no, it's I think it's a weekly programme anyway. I'm assuming.
Okay,
it is.
no, you
yeah,
may be
it's on
right.
for an hour. Now, you might say, well, how can you review a programme you haven't seen? Well,
Yeah.
the point is I've read all the reviews,
Yes.
right, and they're all very, very good.
Are they? Right.
I loved the original Thunderbirds. The reviews said it hasn't deviated from the plot, that they're all the same characters,
Right.
which means it must be brilliant, okay?
Well, yeah, but it'd be good to know whether or not it's got any fantastic special effects or how they do all those
Well,
things like, you know,
it has.
Tracy
It has.
Island and
It
how,
has.
you know, the swimming pool used to come
I
apart.
saw a
and
few clips. I
Thunderbird 2
saw a
used to
few
come out of
clips.
it.
The problem was I forgot to skybox it, right? Because I've skyboxed so much stuff. Sometimes you skybox too much on the same hour,
Yeah.
and therefore it can't record
It gets
everything.
complicated.
And unfortunately, I'd skyboxed too much stuff at that hour that Thunderbirds was on, so I didn't see it.
Right.
So then I go to my laptop and decide to watch it on playback.
Playback?
ITV, is it?
Oh, ITV Player, yeah.
ITV Player, playback or something.
Yeah.
But I couldn't work it because it was very complicated to try and get a programme on that, you know.
it?
And,
Well, all you've got to do is look it up.
well, I did all
Well,
that.
you go into the index and go, you know, T
Oh, yeah, no, I
for
found it. I
Thunderbirds.
found it. I just couldn't. I don't know why. I kept pressing the go button, and it went backwards and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
You know. So that's great, and I recommend that to everybody to see. But the other, I'll tell you something else as well. Poldark, right?
Yeah.
Now you know there's a second series.
No, finish telling us about Thunderbirds first.
No, I've finished about Thunderbirds.
Well, that's finished.
That's finished.
Because
yeah.
I was talking to Sandy about it, funnily enough, who saw it over the weekend.
Oh, right,
And
okay.
she didn't think that Rosamund Pike, who I think you and I both quite like, we almost had her on the show in the mornings once a long time ago.
Yes.
Who plays Lady Penelope.
Ah, yes.
Wasn't quite kind of haughty enough, I
Oh, I
suppose you
see.
might
Not
say.
quite royal enough.
Not quite sort of, authoritative enough.
Yeah, I can tell you something else as well. Yes, my lady.
Yeah. Who plays Parker then?
Well, the man who plays Parker, my lady, is the same man who played Parker in the original Thunderbird series.
Is he?
Isn't that amazing?
He must be
He's
ancient.
he's about 83 now or
Right.
something like that. But
But
he
he's
was
actually the character.
He was the voice of Parker in the original one where they were puppets, and he's the voice of Parker now. He's the only voice from the first series
Right.
who's managed to...
What, so you mean these are puppets
see-
again?
No, they're animations.
Oh, they're animations.
Animations, but they still need voices, don't they?
Right. I thought
that's
they were
why you were
actually-
talking about, what was her name? Prunella somebody?
Rosamund Pike.
Rosamund Pike,
Yeah.
right? You know, that's why you're talking about it.
No, I thought it was a proper sort of, actors.
No, you idiot. No, it's
No, you
animation.
didn't explain that.
It's animation.
Right.
Everybody knows that if they've read all the blurb about it. Didn't you think that was a good impersonation of Parker?
It wasn't bad, actually, yeah. Yeah, it wasn't so good that I want to hear it again, though.
Yes, my lady.
It wasn't so good at what I want to hear again.
No, my lady. And as far as I know, the old Lady Penelope Rolls-Royce, which, amazingly, we now know, don't we, Rolls-Royce, the real company, seem to have modelled the modern-day Rolls-Royce on the version that first appeared in Thunderbirds 35 years ago.
It hasn't got four wheels at the front, though.
Well, it hasn't got four wheels at the front, obviously, but the design of the grille and the shape of the front of the car is exactly the same. And Parker was driving it, and Lady Penelope said, Parker, we'll have to do something about the car in front. Yes, my lady! And then a machine gun would appear through the grille, and it would go...
Well, just blow it up.
Yeah, and they'd blow a car up in front. So I think that was all good stuff. So I'm looking forward to seeing a bit more of that.
All right. Well, see if you can work out the ITV players.
I will, yeah, don't worry. Now, what I was going to say about Poldark is two exciting things. Firstly, there is going to be a second series. That's great.
Yeah.
It's still good, but I'm beginning to tire a little bit of how stretched out the plots are.
Yeah.
Nothing much happens.
No.
Nothing much
Well,
happens.
it's all about him taking his shirt off, isn't it, basically?
Yeah, I suppose it is. But in this
It's
latest
not really
one-
aimed at you, I don't think.
I think it's going a bit all over the place now because 2 episodes ago, Salvation, he'd found copper in his mine.
Yeah.
You know, he'd opened an old disused tin mine. There's no tin left in it, but he said we
found
can find copper. You get copper. But the problem
It's a
is...
stroke of luck.
Well, yeah, but the problem is now the price of copper worldwide has sunk to nothing, so he's getting no money for his copper.
Yeah.
So, all this about being, salvation and all that's all gone away. It's quite good because a lot of people who are now starving to death are rioting around Cornwall, chucking bricks at the rich and all that kind of stuff. That's quite entertaining. But the one thing I was going to and they've commissioned a second series, but the one thing I was going to tell you about, with my absolutely eagle eye, my eagle eye for detail, as a very experienced TV reviewer, I realised in the episode this week that the horse that Poldark is riding is the same horse that appeared in Jamaica Inn 2 years ago.
How can you tell it's the same horse?
I recognised it.
What do you mean recognised?
I recognised the horse.
Rubbish.
I recognised the horse.
Well, a lot of horses look similar. You can't tell me that you can tell the difference between two horses.
I could tell it was that horse.
Well, have you looked it up? Have you checked it?
I've checked it since.
Really?
And it is. And I recognised it by the white flash on its face.
Did you?
And its hooves, because the hooves on the horse are more like a cart horse than a
well, I suppose there's not many horses that are good at acting, so it's probably, it probably gets a lot of work.
Exactly. The horse is called Darky. It's a 14-year-old horse.
Right.
Oh, no, hang on, sorry. No, Darky is the name of the horse in Poldark.
Yeah.
But it's played by a 14-year-old horse whose name is Seamus.
Seamus. So the horse is Irish as well. Because the actor's Irish, isn't he?
Oh, be Jesus. And Seamus was also Matthew McNulty's mount in Jamaica Inn.
Right.
And
did he get rave reviews, the horse?
The horse gets rave reviews. And Aidan Turner, who plays Poldark, he's the man who keeps taking his shirt off and sometimes more than his shirt when he's swimming around in the bay, and his prospective wife is watching him naked. He said, because I looked this up, obviously, to make sure I've got all my facts at my fingertips, I love Seamus. He's an Irish horse and a gypsy horse, so we're pretty well matched. So you're right, it was an Irish horse.
Yeah, there you go.
So, see, that's a big revelation. But the one I really want to talk about, which I've really taken to this week, and I've spent a few hours on the couch watching it, in between coming in here and doing the programme with you, is Are You Being Served?
Are You Being Served?
Yeah, it is clearly one of the most fantastic, comedy sitcoms this country's ever produced. I never realised the quality of it.
How old is that now? I mean, that was around
40
in the 70s,
years,
right? Yeah,
40 years.
Easily.
Captain Peacock, what a fantastic character, and Mrs. Slocum.
Yeah.
And the guy who is the sort of, what you describe as the sort of con man type figure, on the floor, he's
the young
crafty
guy.
cigarette and all that kind of stuff, and Miss Brahms, who went on to be very famous in EastEnders.
Yeah.
Remember?
Wendy Richards.
Wendy Richards, that's her, absolutely. And sadly, she's not with us anymore.
No.
Sadly, she died of cancer.
She was very funny in that show.
Yeah, she was very funny indeed, and very attractive, very
John
sexy.
Inman, of course, as well.
Now, John Inman, this is the interesting thing. This is why I thought it was so good.
Yeah.
John Inman plays, in those days, our attitude to homosexuals was they were figures of fun. And I don't mean that with any disrespect to anybody who's homosexual, but that was the case in those days. I'm afraid it was in the closet time, and it was a terrible era for homosexuals to grow up in and all that kind of stuff. But they made it like he was such a lovable character, which is great, and everybody loved him.
He was very camp, wasn't he?
He was very camp indeed. What was it? My something.
I'm free.
I'm free. That's right. I'm free.
Well,
I'm
he said
free.
he spent hours watching it. I mean, he must have said that about every 5 minutes.
He did, yeah. Dialogue was great. But the reason why it really hit home with me was because John Inman, who plays... what's his name again?
I can't remember the character he played.
Mr... what's his name? I'm free. Well, anyway, the point of the story is...
What is the point of the story?
Mr. Brazil and I received a Variety Club of Britain award from John Inman.
Did you?
At a ceremony at a hotel in London.
Turn it into a story about you.
Well, sort of, yeah. But
brilliant.
As I'd met him personally, and he was so praiseworthy of our efforts on the radio.
Was he?
We won it for doing the breakfast show.
Right.
When we used to do the breakfast show together. Mr. Humphreys, that's the guy.
I used to like young Mr. Grace as well.
And young Mr. Grace, who always had two nubile young nurses sitting on his knee.
You've all done very well.
In his office upstairs, that's right, yeah. I thought it was brilliant. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to get the box set of Are You Being Served?
Are you?
I'm going to watch that over a weekend or something like that. Then come back and devote the whole of a Porkyvision section to a review of Are You Being Served?
Brilliant. I should look forward to that.
Yeah,
thank you very much indeed.
Okay, so there you go. Thunderbirds.
Then you might be able to remember
Poldark. Are You Being Served? It's all there.
There must be something else we can do as well coming up next week. More Porkyvision, of course. Coming up tomorrow, though, it's the Porky Quiz, and it's on Enid Blyton this week and her literary works. What we can make of that, I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to tell you something that's going to shock you in a minute, and it's going to come up next on TalkSport.
Crazy, but that's how it goes. Millions of people living as hoes, yeah, but maybe it's not too late.
This is TalkSport Extra Time. We are the two mics, and of course there will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on, probably in about 6 hours' time, or actually maybe even earlier. They're coming out even earlier this week.
Well,
now,
if you get your act together, there shouldn't be any delay.
Now, I'm going to show you something now.
Right,
now, you recognise these as drawings of a fashion designer, right?
You're showing me these on your tablet?
I'm showing them on my phone, actually.
Right.
Yeah, this is my phone.
Okay.
It's a very big phone. That's why it looks like a tablet. But, you know...
What sort of phone is that, then?
It's an iPhone 6 Plus, actually.
Oh, okay,
which is my
it's quite big.
It's great.
Yeah,
now,
you can't put it in your pocket, though, you see.
Yeah, you can.
You can't put it in your shirt pocket.
Yeah, I can.
No, you can't. No.
Yes, I can, honestly.
Well, you have to have big shirt pockets, then.
Yeah, I've just got big shirt pockets, yeah. But what I'm showing you is some drawings, basically, of some designs, okay?
Yes.
Now, it may come as a great surprise to you that these are designs by Ralph Lauren, right?
Ralph Lauren.
Ralph Lauren,
Yeah.
it's called. And these are designs which are going to be worn, would you believe, by Luke Donald,
Right.
who is a golfer who's playing in the Masters.
Yes, I know that. I know Luke Donald is.
Well, so I'm telling you that
I am
this
some
is
kind
how,
of ignoramus.
Well, I think you are a bit of an ignoramus, actually,
What?
when it comes to golf. Now, the point about the reason I'm showing you this is because you were talking earlier about how ridiculous all the kind of prelims are to the Masters and all that. This is how big it is. You've got Ralph Lauren, one of the most massive designers in the entire world.
I agree.
Who has Luke Donald signed up, obviously, as one of his, wearers of his clothes. And he's actually he's tweeted out, this is what Luke Donald's going to be wearing throughout the Masters. I think that's remarkable. I mean, because it's not just about golf, is my point. It's about
but
fashion.
to be honest...
It's about everything.
That does not surprise me. The only thing that surprises me is that no fashion designer's ever done it before.
Well, I don't know if they have.
I would have thought it was one of the most obvious catwalks in the world, literally, because you're walking, aren't you, between holes, 18 holes, and the final walk up the 18th and all that kind of stuff. I'm just astonished, Mike, that nobody's ever come up with that idea before.
I mean, obviously, you've got the main sort of sportswear manufacturers, like you've got Nike, and you've got, all the other...
Well, not only that, you've got Tight-Leased on the peak of the cap. You've got what's the one I use? The forgotten now. What are they called?
Probably Woolworth's own brand or something.
No. They were made for me, made and measured for me. No, not Wilson.
Lynx?
No. Their laboratory is down near Chester in the World of Adventures.
That doesn't help me.
And I went in there.
I don't know where any laboratories are.
I did about 20 or 30 swings on an area which had cameras all around it, and 10,000 images were flashed back to Florida to the base,
right?
And they all
had a good laugh.
No. They made me a set of clubs measured to my body shape. They're absolutely perfect, so nobody else can play with them.
No,
because they are.
You probably can't play with them either, can you?
Well, what's that supposed to mean?
Well, you're not very good at golf, are you?
How
you
do
might
you
as
know?
well admit it.
Yeah,
I've seen you.
No, we haven't played for a couple of years.
Well, we haven't played for more than a couple of years,
Yeah.
but you were never a golfer.
I resent that. What, are you saying you were?
I was a very good golfer, yeah.
Very good
I was a member of 3 different golf clubs. I used to play with a handicap of 9.
Yeah.
I played golf all my life since the age of 12.
So why aren't you playing anymore?
Because I don't have any time now.
No, you know why you're not playing anymore, because your body shape doesn't suit golf
Not
anymore.
true.
Your stomach's so big.
The last time that
your stomach's so big, you can't get within range on a decent length
It's nothing to do with the size
club.
of your
You can't get within range of a tee.
It's got nothing to do with...
You need a golf club about 8 foot long now to hit the tee.
Well, I mean, it's very kind of you to keep insulting me, because I always know that I've got you on the spin when you start insulting me. The bottom line is, it's got nothing to do with the size of your gut or the size of your stomach or anything else.
Case.
It's all to do with the speed of the wrists, which you wouldn't know anything about. Anyway, what I'm telling you is that...
I think that's a good idea, the old-fashioned thing.
Yeah.
You know that I am decked out in fashion gear for golf. Next time I take it.
When was the last time you... Well, maybe we should play golf then, you and I.
Yeah, maybe.
Now that the days are getting longer,
but you know,
the nights are getting shorter.
Do you know whose fashion range I wear when I'm on the golf course?
I can't imagine. Toys R Us.
No, they're trying to be funny, aren't you?
Yeah.
Ian Poulter's.
Yeah, ever since you played with Ian Poulter, he's not really ever recovered from that.
Actually, do you know, that's not a bad shout. When I played with Ian Poulter at Stoke Park, the golf course where Goldfinger was filmed, okay?
Yeah.
He was number 4 in the world.
Right.
He's never been that high ever since.
Now he's about number 44.
I think, something like that, and he seems to have gone backwards ever since he met me, and I tried to get him to show me how to swing a club properly. I think it reverberated back on him.
I think it did. Well, you've often had that effect on people, unfortunately.
Maybe sometimes I do.
To your level. Now, James says, does Porky have a tip for the National? You can save it until tomorrow if you like.
I will.
Need to study the form.
I will, I'll save it till tomorrow.
Because a lot of people yesterday were kind of criticising your claim that you put all was back to horses where the jockeys' colours were blue.
That's right.
Because they said the winner of last year's wasn't wearing blue.
It was.
Really?
It was.
But why would they say that?
Well, because they must be lacking in knowledge, that's all I can assume. But it was, of course it was.
And Naomi here in County Antrim says, Porky said a host of dancing daffodils and it is golden daffodils, and he didn't finish it. I think she's being a bit harsh.
Yeah, you are being very harsh indeed.
And then Paul in Mitcham says, well done, Porky, for getting the first verse of Daffodils. What about the other three? Now, that would have been impressive.
Well, we didn't have time.
I think you did very well.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you very much indeed. Wow, it's a rare compliment from you.
Yeah, but you see, I don't mind. I sit here, and many people reflect on this quite frequently. You know, I sit here taking all sorts of abuse from you, and, you know, absolutely not batting an eyelid. And then occasionally I will compliment you. I very rarely, if ever, have ever insulted you.
Yes. Well, now there's one here. It says, Porky's Parker impression does not sound like Parker, and then he says something very rude, which I'm not going to repeat. It sounds, you know, he said rather... No, I'm not going to repeat it.
You're not going to repeat it,
Right, no. Right. Now, you know, we talked about light years the other day, the 42 light years.
Yeah, we did.
Right.
Have you worked out how far away it is yet?
Well, no, but somebody has for me. 675 trillion, 980 billion, 221 million, 600,000 miles.
How many?
675 trillion, 980 billion, 221 million, 600,000
See, I mean,
miles.
you might as well be telling me something in I don't know, some ancient Sanskrit.
Exactly.
Because I would have no idea what you're talking about.
Exactly, absolutely.
I couldn't measure that at all.
Absolutely. Now then, because the Masters is starting very soon, do you think Rory is going to win it?
It's an impossible game to predict, really, golf, and I'm not sure. Is the straight answer. I mean, what I think is going to be determined really is once we've seen the first day's play, I'll be able to give you an idea, because I'll give you an idea of how he's playing. Yeah. But Rory McIlroy, all the people I've spoken to who are sort of experts in the field have said, problem with Rory McIlroy is up until now he's never really mastered the course terribly well. He's never managed it very well, apart from that
the Masters?
Year. Yeah, apart from that first year.
He had a six-stroke lead on the last day in 2011, didn't he?
That's right, but then it completely blew up.
Yes.
But I mean, that's the only time he ever kind of played it right. But since then, he never really has, and he's never really been in contention since then. So, I mean, he's going to have to change the way he plays if he's going to win it. OK,
now if he wins it, of course, he will have won all four of the Grand Slam majors, the Grand Slam. Do you know how many great players have never won the Grand Slam?
I imagine
Arnold
an
Palmer,
awful lot
for
of them.
instance.
Yeah, an awful lot of them.
Lee Trevino. Who's the others I can know? I read a list of them this morning.
Gary Player?
No, Gary Player is one of them who has won the Grand Slam.
Nicholas presumably is one of them, isn't he?
He has to be, doesn't he, with the record number of 18 majors. No, the other one was Seve Ballesteros.
Yeah.
And you would imagine that, you know, these guys who've won multiple... I mean, for instance, Sir Nick Faldo, right, he's got 6 majors, but they were divided between 3 Masters and 3 Opens, 3 British Opens, which is astonishing, really, that, you know...
Never won the US Open.
That's what I mean. A guy that good never won anything in America except the Masters.
This is the thing, that people don't know golf very well. Just assume that because you've won something, you can just keep winning it. And it's not like that.
Just keep thrashing around
courses. It just
courses.
doesn't go along with that.
Well, that's called the Tiger phenomenon, isn't it? You know, because he was so good, people thought, well, it didn't matter what golf course he went on, he'd probably win.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. Now, talking about winners, did you see that story on the front page of the Mirror this morning? Right. £53 million lotto winner goes back to work.
Yeah, I know.
Which is a pretty interesting story for me.
Why is it interesting?
Well, because a lot of people would say you win 53 million quid and you wouldn't bother going back to do anything at all.
What is the interesting aspect of it for you? Is it the fact that the person does not appreciate the luck they've had in life, the wealth and the difference in lifestyle, or is the guy just trying to be a man of the people?
Well, no,
it's a
slightly different one. It's not like she's going. It's a woman who's the part of the couple.
Angela Maxwell.
Yeah, and it's because she's actually a volunteer and she's not somebody who actually goes to work and gets paid. Yeah. So what she's doing is she runs a lunch club for the elderly, and I think that's a rather sweet story. So she's still doing the volunteering, even though she's now worth 53 million quid.
Yes,
which I think is rather nice.
Yeah, I think that's rather nice. If she says, "Well, I can't let the people down who depend upon me," that is great. And when you've got 53 million quid, you are so relaxed about life. Right. I.e., you don't have to worry about where the next loaf of bread is coming from, or having a roof over your head. You can afford to be nice, can't you?
You can.
You really can.
See, if you won 53 million quid, I don't think you'd be very nice. I just don't think
I would.
You would.
I'd give most of it away.
Would you?
I would. I'd give most of it away to charities.
You wouldn't give me any, though, would you?
No. Well, I would, actually. I'd buy you £1 million house and say, look, all your disparate family all around the world, which you've abandoned here, there and everywhere, can now come together because I'm going to buy you a house.
That's very kind of you. That's the nicest thing you've ever said to me.
I would, I would definitely do that.
I'm starting to get a bit worried about you.
I would definitely do that. We're running out of time here, and I just want to tell the audience again about another one of my particular favourite obsessions in life,
all right.
and that is that Peaky Blinders has been nominated as the great, what is it?
Oh, it's just in the BAFTAs, because the BAFTA nominations came out.
Yeah, BAFTA nominations came out. I think it's leading drama series, okay?
Right.
And it is Peaky Blinders, and I am so delighted because I can't wait. I mean, I know there's a new series of Poldark that's just been announced, but I cannot wait for the new series of Peaky Blinders to come out. It's absolutely fantastic, and I find life difficult and stressful without the weekly dose of Peaky Blinders.
I think, but now in your new guise as the Porkyvision man,
yes, exactly.
There's not enough time in the week for you to watch all the shows. I mean, there was a time when I was watching so many different things. You know, I was trying to watch the end of Breaking Bad, I was trying to watch The House of Cards, I was trying to watch a whole bunch of different shows and series that were on. But after a while, it just becomes overwhelming.
Yeah, no, I
overwhelming.
totally agree. There's far too much telly around these days. What I am impressed about is that there is actually so much quality television around, because for years we've been saying, oh, you know, don't make shows like The Sweeney anymore and all that, but they do.
Yeah.
There's loads of great shows like that, some of which I've never even seen. I've never seen The Wire.
Yeah.
Have you seen The Wire?
Yeah, I've got the box set of The Wire.
And is that a great one?
It is great. Yeah, it's all about Baltimore, funnily enough. And if you've ever been to Baltimore, you'll kind of you'll empathise with some of the
I've
cars.
been to Baltimore. I used to drive from Washington DC to New York and back. I used to drive through Baltimore.
Yeah, but you drive through that tunnel, wouldn't you?
Yeah, that's right.
And past
Absolutely.
that big salt mountain. But I mean, the truth about Baltimore, as I discovered once, is a rather dark place, because you've got that whole bit by the sort of the seafront, which is lovely.
Yes.
And it's all modern. But when you go into the kind of the projects and the ghettos and all that,
that's right.
It's quite a dangerous place. I took my kids once to a zoo there, and we arrived at this zoo, and there was nobody there, right?
Right.
And it was really eerie, because it was in this kind of in the middle of this very rundown section of town,
right,
North Baltimore. And so we just kind of walked in.
Yeah.
And the only thing that we found that was still in there were meerkats. And there was this kind of big enclosure full of meerkats.
That's strange.
And everywhere we went, which was it became quite eerie, there was nobody else in there. No locks on the gates. It was like an abandoned zoo.
I was going to say, it sounds like a set from a TV series.
It was horrible.
Now, talking about great TV series and all that, this is another thing I've got to tell you. Time is short, okay? I have discovered, through my contacts in the security forces and all that...
The security forces?
Yeah, in the year...
Well, you're like Marks and Spencer security forces?
No.
What, you mean the guys down at the shopping centre?
I have told you in the past, I told you confidentially, that I have contacts in naval intelligence.
Yes, I know that.
I'm down in Portsmouth.
Yeah, you have said that.
So it's not particularly them, but it's of that ilk, right? In 2000, a special unit of undercover armed policemen put together because the country feared there was going to be a riot of people who are Star Trek fans who were going to try and take over the country.
Really?
Yeah. You know, in 2000, at the start of the new millennium, all sorts of strange things were supposed to happen.
Yeah, there was going to be a millennium bug, wasn't there?
Millennium bug, computers were going to break down, all this kind of stuff. Well, all these nutty Star Trek followers called Trekkies were...
Trekkers, actually, technically.
Are they Trekkers?
People call them Trekkies by mistake.
Yeah, according to, security intelligence, were going to literally mass attack places like Downing Street and all that.
Dressed as Star Trek characters?
Yes, because they were.
Does it worry you that these people are actually in charge of guns?
They thought, but I mean, you know how dangerous these people can be.
No.
Yes, you do.
What, because you mean they can do the Vulcan death grip?
Well, all that kind of, not the Vulcan death grip, but I mean, if they get obsessive, these people, I covered the Davidian massacre in Texas, in Waco.
Well, that's not quite the same as
where
people
the guy
dressed as
set
Star
fire
Trek,
to the place and killed 80 people, but they're the
they
same sort of
dressed
nutters.
As, Sulu.
You know where
really.
our mate Alan Rees lives in Marlborough.
Yeah.
All the
We're giving
Trekkies
out more
go there.
names again.
No, they go there.
Do they?
Because for some unknown reason, the Trekkies believe that they have a lot in common with the crop circle people.
Do they?
And they believe the people coming down the crop circles might be
Who are
Star
the crop
Trek
circle people?
Well, they're all nutters who go in a pub called what's it called?
What, in Pewsey you're talking about?
Yeah, in Pewsey. Yeah. You sit on Pewsey Vale, you can see the pub, and you actually see them coming out with their planks and their bits of wood and walking round.
There's only one plank around here.
And the bloke who was the local guide, right, all these Germans used to turn up in coaches from Germany, and if it had been a rainy night and there weren't enough crop circles, he used to go in the pub and give the boys 20 quid each to get out and make a few more crop circles, because the Germans thought that they were real.
That doesn't explain it, though. We'll have to talk about crop circles
I think it
some more,
does.
I think,
I think it
because
does.
it's an area of some expertise for those of us who've lived in Wiltshire.
The German guide used to say, there are not many crop circles today. And then half an hour later...
used to say.
Yeah, half an hour later, there were a load of crop circles, Oh, it's a miracle!
Maybe it was the Star Trek people that did it.
Exactly,
I'm surprised they didn't do one in the shape of the Enterprise. That's what we should look out for. Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Parry. He'll be back, of course, for his massive intellectual quiz on the works of Enid Blyton. This is TalkSport. We are the two mics.
Look at the light!
it was the Bishop of New York's official car with purple seats, and the bloke inside threw up over the seats. Do you remember?
No, I don't remember.
Oh, yeah, I do, yeah, that's right. And the driver had to then take the car back with vomit all over the seats to pick up the Bishop from the theatre.
I'm intrigued by this woman across the way.
Why?
You only mentioned her for the first time, like last week.
No. Well, I don't want to put
how
spotlight
often
on her.
do you knock on her door and give her stuff?
If you love the Two Mics podcast, you'll love the live show. Weekday overnights from 1am on DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM and via the TalkSport app. TalkSport, your Premier League station with exclusive commentaries every weekend.
What an absolute corker!
TalkSport.